My name is Saunders, and I'm president of the Historical Society. And tonight I'm going to be presenting a mini tour of the Richard Allen Museum, which is located at 419 South 6th Street, Philadelphia, PA 19147. Right now we are open for in-person service, but we are not at the present conducting virtual in-person tours. We're now conducting virtual tours. So I will start with the bicentennial window, which will be our next slide. This bicentennial window depicts the 4 churches that have been placed on this site. When you visit Mother Bethel and you come into the museum and you go to the lower level, this is the first thing that you see is the bicentennial window. Now, Richard Allen is in the center, and he was born on February the 14th, 1760, and died March the 26th, 1831. He purchased a blacksmith shop, which you see in the upper left-hand corner, as his first church in 1791, and purchased the second church, which is to your right, which is known as the Brick Church, in 1805. It was here where the first convention was held in 1816 that established the African Methodist Episcopal Church and the first bishop, Richard Allen, that would lead this church. The third church was built in 1841. It was built after the death of Richard Allen. And our present church, which once again is in the far left, was built in 1889, establishing this site as the oldest parcel of land continuously owned by a Black institution in the country. Now we move to the mural. Now this slide represents the entire story of Richard Allen and the founding of Mother Bethel, told from the visuals seen in this mural. It's starting with Richard Allen and Sarah, and moving to the right, lower, you will see Richard and Sarah, and you see a slave catcher attempting to remove a slave from his home with the intent of reselling him into slavery. Believe it or not, Richard Allen had lived in the area for many years when a slave catcher tried to capture and resell him into slavery. Fortunately for Allen, many people knew him, and at the time called the constable to have the slave catcher arrested and jailed. The mural also shows St. George's, which is in the middle, and St. George is the oldest Methodist church in the country. This is where Richard Allen began his formal preaching, and also where the walkout occurred in protest, where Richard Allen removed his parishioners and Absalom Jones from St. George's, never to return. To the far right of the mural, you see a physician treating a patient. Philadelphia went through the yellow fever epidemic in 1793. It was actually thought at the time that Blacks were immune to yellow fever, but they weren't. And Richard Allen and his parishioners were asked at that time by the city officials to assist with the sick and the burial of the dead. Later, it was determined that the yellow fever was a mosquito-borne disease. And when the weather cooled, the yellow fever disappeared, but returned every summer until a vaccine was developed in the 40s. To the far right is the present church, and below are all the pastors that have served with Richard Allen at Mother Bethel. Now, we're entering what we call, in the lower level of the museum, Gallery 3. Just imagine what it would be like to visit Mother Bethel in the 1790s and early 1800s. Here in this room, we have the religious liberty pulpit that was used by Richard Allen when giving his sermons. Next to the pulpit are his chairs, and these chairs are built higher than the other chairs surrounding the pulpit, primarily because Richard Allen was a short gentleman. The chairs that you see are from the first and second church. They were called the Bovak Windsor chairs, which was typical of the chairs made in the 18th century. Now we'll move into Gallery 4. The Four Horsemen is on display in this gallery, and it's a circular bronze plaque that represents the four men that grew the AME Church from the beginning, with Richard Allen as the founder, Daniel Payne, who was referred to as at the time as the apostle of education, Paul Quinn, who was responsible for the growth of the church in the West, and Henry McNeil Turner, who established the AME Church in the Deep South. Presently, the AME Church is in 12 countries and make up 22 districts worldwide. To your right is the ballot box. That was used to elect the church officials, and the design enabled those who could not read or write to participate in the election process. The slots held the candidate's picture, and the members would drop a marble ball in the hole that represented their candidates. A white ball represented a yes vote, and a black ball represented a no vote. Next on the stop on this tour is the tomb. This tomb contains the remains of Richard Allen, Sarah Allen, his second wife, and Morris Brown, the second bishop of the AME Church. Morris Brown was the founder of Mother Emanuel AME Church, located in Charleston, South Carolina. Sadly, this is where the 9 members were killed during a Bible study class in 2015. The tomb was established in the lower level of our present church to give AMEs worldwide a place to pay their respects to their founding fathers. The inscription on the tomb reads, "He was instrumental in the hands of the Lord in enlightening many thousands of brethren, the descendants of Africa, and was the founder of the first African church in America." Mother Bethel was also a stop on the Underground Railroad. And this concludes our mini tour.